We should be live, and it says we are live on YouTube. Awesome. Welcome to Thursday's Cosmic Conversations. I'm trying to get rid of that visual. There it goes. I am Stacy Harder, along with my mom, Dr. Heather Harder. This is our every Thursday meeting of Cosmic Conversations where we can get together. You can ask questions. We can have topics. And it's a place to know that you're not alone in this world and that there's constant change. And so I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Heather as she usually takes over, and then I can do some of the digital things. So go ahead, Heather, take it away. You're muted, so I don't hear you.
Are you also on Instagram, or are you coming up with that?
Nope, I'm on IG.
Okay, doesn't show me IG. All right, welcome. It's Thursday, June 10th, one of those days in June. It's supposed to have incredible energy. It's may affect you in unusual ways. And one of the things we're going to talk about are the things that popped up this week for you. What are the emotional bubbles that are expressing themselves? So like when you have water that boils, the bubbles come up and then they explode. So be thinking about what emotional stuff has come up for this week, especially today, and will continue to bubble up. Lots of things are coming before because it's time to get rid of them, whether it's purging physically, whether it's emotionally releasing, or whether it's energetically harmonizing. It's been a very, very busy week. My name is Heather Harder. I've been playing with the spiritual game since for about 30 years, and I'm pleased to be with you. I answer questions. I give you my opinions. I tell you what I've been told from Spirit. Sometimes I agree with it. Sometimes it still kind of stretches my brain, but I do my best to convey what I've been told, what I've learned as accurately as possible. When we start, there are three things that I remind everybody to do, and these are habits that I want you to build, is that you always start, whether you're listening to an expert, whether you're reading a book, whether you are attending a gathering or a meeting, that you really want to start everything, start your day. So when you watch TV, very important habits to ask for truth. We're getting all kinds of information and misinformation. When you ask for truth, it sort of activates your own filters, and that you recognize truth easier. Excuse me. So always ask for truth, ask for protection. Just as we are getting energies being sent to us, some is positive, some is not so positive. And so by being able to ask for protection, then that distractions that may come up aren't necessary for you. You allow it to sort of fade away into your existence. So asking for protection is important. And then finally is asking for guidance. So we want truth, protection, and guidance. Our soul knows the way. We are very much our own and very best GPS. But oftentimes we're not hearing the instructions. Just like at my GPS in the car, I can have it muted where it's maybe talking away, but it doesn't show up in my consciousness. I have to look down and actually read it. And so some of you are operating with your GPS turned off or GPS turned down. So by asking for guidance, you give the universe permission to turn on your own personal GPS system. So it's very important. So that's the first thing we do. Ask for protection, guidance, and truth. However you do that is up to you. You can pray, you can affirm, you can just put out a question, you can put out a statement saying that I have it, you can put out the gratitude for having it. There's a million different ways. There's no wrong, there's no right. So do whatever feels comfortable for you. You can create a little statement, an affirmation, put it in your bathroom mirror, and every morning when you get up and get dressed and brush your teeth and do those things, that you affirm that little process so that you start every day with it. But every time you're listening to experts, it's really important because many of the experts are giving us fake news. And many of the spiritual gurus are guiding you off your path. So just always know that you are the gatekeeper of your own journey and give your power to no one. My job is to awaken you to the power that you are. I don't need people following me. I don't need to be anybody's guru. I do need to be your co-traveler on this wonderful journey that we've agreed to. And by wonderful, I mean that some days it's wonderful and some days not so hot. So that's the very important way we start the process. The next part of our experience is to do some light work. We're here as light workers. We're here to share the light, to use the light to help the planet. We're here to assist the earth in her transformation, to help humanity shift consciousness from third dimension into fifth dimensions. Consciousness allows you to sort of be the orientation to which you view the world. If we saw Lindsay right now, she was on camera earlier and she's sitting by the pool in her blue glasses. I have some lovely red glasses. And so if we were both looking at the same object, what she'd be looking at, my lovely red glasses, what she would be looking at would have a blue cast. What I would be looking at would have a red cast. We're both right based on our perspective. And that's sort of what happens with consciousness. At third dimension, you're looking at the world through a specific colored glasses that takes away a lot of things and lets you see the reality of third dimension, that what is real is physical. It can taste, touch, smell, hear, feel. But my glasses are fifth dimensional glasses. And so what I see is beyond those five senses, and I see the unity. I see the potentiality. I see the unity that all humanity shares. So really what we're doing is changing glasses, and we're helping humanity also change glasses and begin to see the world differently. That's a vibrational shift that alters consciousness, alters abilities, alters perceptions, so that we are a more advanced civilization. So with that, we were going to play with the light. Light, love, God all carry the same vibration. So when our natural state is light. And so as we play with the light, as we play with this energy form, then literally we're bringing it to us and through us, and then we're sharing it with whatever we deem appropriate. I'm going to be doing a basic exercise that I was given from Spirit 30 plus years ago, but we add to it based on what's going on in the world. You are invited while I'm doing this to do it any way you want. There's, again, no right, no wrong, as long as you're sending out this light, love, energy unconditionally. If you send it out to manipulate, to change, to alter, to fix, if you send it out with an end game in mind, then that's conditional, and that's also control and manipulation. And none of us have the right to control and manipulate another. And so we want to just do it unconditionally. We send it out, and however it's used is up to the universe, but we send it out with just a pure gift of love from our heart to the world. And then if you have people in your life that you want to share it with, if you have events in your life that you want to share it with, that's okay. But just remember, no strings attached. It's just there. An example is if I gave you $100 for your birthday and told you to buy school clothes, that's a conditional gift. I put strings on it. You can only use this money to buy school clothes. But if I give you $100 and say, enjoy it, then I'm giving you an unconditional gift. There's no strings there. I'm not directing it in any way. I'm just gifting it to you. And then it's up to you and your inclinations to spend it the way you want. And that's how we give love and light. You want to be able to do, I'm reading this, that's cute. You want to be able to Remember to always share it unconditionally. Never send love to fix someone unless they specifically ask. Never send love and light out to heal someone unless they've specifically asked you. Because if you do that, you're altering their free will and you can draw karmic consequences of it. So you don't want to do anything that has strings unless you've been requested. Thank you for the comment. I appreciate that comment. Anybody else have anything they want to ask or say before we begin to play?
Oh, real quick, I just put in the notes that that Gosha said that Mama Heather is glowing tonight. So I just typed it in.
Well, it's not because I've had a good day. I can tell you that. I've had to clear away the day because it's been a challenging one, but we'll talk about that in a bit. But thank you. Appreciate those comments. I always take compliments well. Anybody else want
That's
to?
Your sarcasm. For those that don't know Heather yet, that's a little sarcastic, Mom.
Sarcastic? Why was that sarcastic? I do take compliments well.
You don't. You usually push them away.
Well, that's, again, going back to the glasses, she sees things one way, I see them another. All right. Anybody else have any questions or ask anything before we start? Everybody understand that we're going to be playing in the light? It's just in your imagination. Don't expect. Thank you, Josie. Josie writes gorgeous. I don't know if she's talking about Stacy or I or both of us or herself. Who knows? So anyway, it's not lightning bolts from heaven. It's the intention. It's the activity that you do. And that is what changes. It's kind of fun to just take a moment to do personal inventory. Feel your breath. Feel your mind. Feel your thoughts. Feel your body. And as we play in the light, you'll feel the shifts within your own physical structure. Your body is the truth teller. Your body is what tells you where you are at any given moment. So do an inventory. See how you feel. And then at the end, you can do it again and see what shifts have taken place. If you feel calmer, more serene. And that is the evidence that it serves you. When you feel better, more refined, more serene, more peaceful, more calm. Those are the indicators that you're moving closer to your potential. Okay, no questions from the online people? Stacy?
I don't have questions yet.
No questions yet, okay.
Just a hellos and lots of hearts. The I am. Her name is My Becoming. She's been very lots of hearts and emojis.
Oh, good. Well, lots of hearts back to you.
Okay. And we have.
Now, when I do.
And we have from Canada, Argosha, and Brian. So we got people from all over.
Wonderful. That's wonderful because then we can share it with the world. So just take a breath. Allow yourself just to release all the energy from the day that doesn't serve you. Now, I tend to close my eyes just because I get rid of the distractions, but eyes are not sacred. You can have eyes open, eyes closed, whatever you prefer. I'm going to mute everybody that is not talking because I don't want to hear the background noise. And so with that, now I'd like you just to set the intention to go to center. Center is an imaginary place. It can look like anything, your own little cave. I like to make mine look like a beach. I'm very fond of beaches. That I've had people make it look like their family room or their kitchen. Be a mountain or a woods, wherever you feel most safe, most protected, most aligned. Or it can look like nothing. It doesn't have to look like anything. And I will also say, based on your skill development over time. And I mean lifetimes, not one time. You may be clairsentient, which means that you sense, you feel, you don't necessarily see something, but and I'm clairsentient, so I don't see a beach. I just feel the beach. I know the beach is there, and I can feel it in a way that I can describe it visually, but I don't see an image. Clairvoyance, those people who have a propensity to vision will see. Sometimes they'll see colors, sometimes they'll see shapes, sometimes they'll see like movies, and they may, in the case of beaches, they may be seeing the beach, and that's wonderful. Sometimes people have developed their auditory skills. They're clairaudient, so they're hearing beyond the physical hearing, and so they may experience it through the waves, or we're again going with the beach analogy, or they may be hearing voices describe it, or having their own voice describe it auditorily. There's no right or combination of those. There's no right, there's no wrong. However it experiences to you, or even doesn't experience to you, it is divinely perfect for you. Don't question, don't judge, just allow. And some people whose minds are a bit overactive may be very distracting and chipper the entire time, which keeps them from being in that space. That's okay too. Just love your mind, tell it to sit down and be quiet. And you want to discipline your mind so your mind supports your activity and doesn't take away the activity. Sometimes the mind can even cause you to drift and think about something in the future or something in the past, or have you black out and you go to sleep, as some people will feel like they're losing consciousness. That's just ways that the mind distracts. The mind doesn't necessarily want you to evolve into your greater self, because it loses its place of authority. It becomes part of a team rather than the high honcho. So just recognize it's all part of the evolution of you. You are a body, but you are not your body. You have a mind, but you are not your mind. You are soul spirit working in tandem with your body and your mind. And so you're learning how to work in harmony internally helps the world learn to work in harmony. So after you've gone to center, and this is the point that you are most connected to the universe, and you are here to be the ambassador of heaven and earth. You're here to anchor heaven to earth. Those heavenly energies, or those God energies, those higher vibrational energies, comes to us and through us into the planet. So just imagine stepping into this pillar of light and just let this energy move through you. It's what you volunteered for. And so as this energy flows to you and through you into the earth, you are purified, you're clarified. The energy that doesn't serve you is washed away into the earth, and the earth transforms it. Again, you always get back more than what you put in. So as you send love and light into the earth and into the world, you get that back. So allow yourself to be open to that free exchange so that you too can recognize your own evolution. We're just going to put the intention out to let all the energy that doesn't serve us, all the thoughts, all the actions, all the behaviors that we've experienced this week that does not serve our greater good, does not serve our higher vibration, we just release it. We don't need to know what it is. We don't need to analyze it. We just need to let it go. Then imagine becoming one with this pillar of light. Just see that energy vibrate higher and higher and more light filled. You become a beacon of light. You're your own energy generator. And then combine energy with all those on this call who have the intention to serve this planet and its people. We become one energy source. And then we invite all those in the universe that serve this planet and its people to join us in this intention. Whether they be of this world, around this world, or from other worlds, just join us in sending energy into the planet. We are part of an amazing, mystical, magical, divine plan. And there are many, many, many beings who are here to assist us. And the light can't lose. We are masters of this because everything is made of the divine. Everything is made of light. And we're just activating this light. And then we're going to send this light and love into the earth. See the whole planet just filled with this light and love. Glow with this light and love. Bask in this light and love. Simmer in this light and love. And every void, every space in, on, and around this planet is filled with this light and love. Every molecule, every atom, every part of this planet and its people are filled with this love and light. Just feel how it feels to send this massive light and love out into the universe, out into this world, out into humanity. And then imagine sending this light and love into the atmosphere. The atmosphere is this covering of the planet. It's designed for its health and well-being. It protects the earth, just like our skin does for our body. You can imagine how you would feel without your skin. Or when we tamper with the atmosphere, that's what happens to the earth. So love is an incredible balm that the earth can use to bring balance, to bring healing. When something is out of balance in the world, weather patterns are how the earth finds her balance again. So imagine sending love and light to all the weather patterns on this planet. Now it would be an easy journey if everybody on this planet wanted to participate in this evolution of the planet, but not everybody does. There are those who actually oppose this evolution. They want the earth to stay the way it is, or even become a little bit more choppy. So we want to love all those who are resisting the earth changes, who are resisting the evolution of humanity, the rise in consciousness of humanity. They want to continue to control and manipulate. And our job is just to love those beings, whether from this world or others. Just love them. Those that manipulate the weather patterns, those that manipulate the atmosphere, those that manipulate and hurt the earth. We just want to love them. They're all part of the divine family. They're all part of the divine plan. Just love them. You may get images of them, you may not. It doesn't matter. Just your intentions. And of course, there will be someone who we know him as the man who will become known as the Antichrist, and our job is to love him. Just love him. He is still part of the divine family. He too was created for his role, and our job is just to love him. The mass consciousness is a very important aspect of life on earth. If you can imagine, every thought, action, deed that you do leaves a trail of energy. That trail of energy is the residue, and combined with all the other trails of all those who've ever been on this planet or ever will be on this planet, because all time is now, That creates the mass consciousness. That's the part that unifies all of humanity. Every thought, every action, every deed that you have created has gone into this mass consciousness. Right now, because you created that, you're welcome to switch it, flip it like a pancake from a lower vibration to a higher vibration. You can do that because you created it. It's yours. And then we just want to send the mass consciousness lots and lots and lots of love. Just imagine like a balloon, pumping it full of love. We're all connected to this mass consciousness. We're all impacted by the mass consciousness. And we all impact the mass consciousness. The more love we put into it, the more kindness, the more compassion, the more gentleness we put in it, the higher the mass consciousness. So right now, just do your part to add that love and light, the kindness, the gentleness, the compassion. Your God self knows what is needed. Allow it to make a decision about what goes into the mass consciousness. And on this planet, there are a lot of influencers, both online, in the media, all kinds of media, in politics and business. Some of those influencers serve the greater good, and others serve their personal agenda. Some serve the well-being of the planet, and others serve their own lower motivation of manipulation, greed, fear, whatever it is that their motivator. Just love them. Just love them. Know that karma will bring all the lessons back to them. Whatever they haven't received, whatever they haven't learned, will come back. Life is just about experiences. And we've all gone through experiences of being less than our God self. You just want to choose the higher path now. We have now in the US an election coming up. Maybe there's elections coming up in lots of countries, but all those who are thinking about becoming candidates, who are planning on running in the next election, regardless of their location or the position they desire, we're going to love them. We're going to just ask the universe to call forth those that we need for greater good. And then we're going to send love and light to all those who are currently in political office or make decisions for this planet and its people, whether it's local or state or regional or national or even international. We just want to love them. Just love them. If you've ever done something less honorable, you know that you pay a price for that. You hurt, you feel bad, maybe feel guilt or shame. So don't think anyone ever gets away with these lower choices without paying the price. And our job is just to love them, not judge them, just love them. And if we've been less than our best, we love ourselves as well. And then we send love and light out to everyone who needs or wants the love and light. We give permission to the angels to use this love and light in any way that serves this planet and its people, and those that serve this planet and its people. And then certainly we open ourselves up to receive this love and light. Universal law says that anything you send out must come back to you. We can have our walls up and not feel it, not receive it. We want to intentionally just open ourselves to be like sponges that are very absorbent and take this energy in and let it re-establish our divine blueprint, our original DNA, and anything and everything that alters our DNA for our healthy way of being, we want to neutralize, transform, and love. Take a deep breath and let every cell of your body just feel this energy as it harmonizes in your totality. This energy source, this love and light, is your natural state. The more we bring it in and allow it, the more we move to that natural state. Anyone who seeks to move you into fear or judgment or alters your physical, your mental, or your spiritual bodies, we want to just love them. Imagine one of those big, big, big major fire hydrants with those hoses that attach. And we're just going to send those beings, whoever they are, whatever they are, love at such a magnitude that they can't affect us because we're so filled with love. And we're so repelling anything that is not love. Now just open a space before you and allow that higher part of you, that higher self part of you, that wiser part of you to stand before you and tell you what you need to know. Whatever's gone on this week and you want to ask them about it, do so. I'm just going to give you a few minutes to commune with that higher, wiser part of you. You might ask what your lesson for this coming week will be. What do you need to focus on? And anytime you want, you can go back to your center and reconnect with this higher, wiser part of you. Because everything in your life already has a solution, already has an answer. You just have to connect to that part of you that already knows. So take a deep breath, anchor the energy, send your gratitude out to all those who work with you and for you. Deep breath and anchor the energy again in every cell of your body, in every DNA strand. Your divine perfection already exists. You're just calling it in. Feel how it feels. And then as you're ready, come back to the here and now. And if you have a journal, jot down as much as you can remember of the experience, because what happened is we're working in consciousness. Consciousness bypasses the mind, so you don't remember it the way you would if it was a mental thing. It's sort of like a dream. The awareness fades. So by jotting it down, you can relive it, you can pull the energy back, you can re-access it much faster and easier. What did you feel? What did you experience? What did you see? What did you hear? Whatever senses were involved, just jot down your awareness. And whether you're on the Zoom call or whether you're online, always have paper and pencil around you because it's a great way of capturing your nuggets of insight. I can be saying one thing, but your spiritual helpers may inspire something totally different in your consciousness. And it always helps to grab it, capture it. So when you're ready, just come back to the here and now. Anybody want to share anything, how they feel, what they experienced? I'm unmuting you so you can make a comment should you want to make a comment. Anybody have any comments online? Thank you, Josie. She said that was beautiful.
Yes. It was very relaxing too.
Well, it's our day-to-day life that causes stress and causes the tension. Our natural state is very zen. And so being relaxed is important. Yeah, well, if you're not all the time, at least periodically, you should get yourself back into that zen state.
Yeah, my bad day was yesterday.
Well, bad is a judgment.
Okay.
It was your challenging day.
Not very challenging. Okay.
And you're human, so of course you're going to have those.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody want to say anything? Stacy, or anybody commenting on anything?
No, we gotta thank you. But I think it's just fun having everyone. Claudia's here, so we've got Mayfair. We have Venezuela, Costa Rica, Mexico, Australia, United States, Canada. Fun.
Wonderful.
Learners know who to follow.
Just lots of wonderful energy shared with the world. Shared with the world. Now, it'll be nice when we can get someone from every country. We should
Yay.
do it at some different time so we can get people who are sleeping during this time able to join us. Okay, so our next and final portion is just now conversation. So if you have questions, if you have comments, if you have things that came up, if you have things you wonder about, whatever you want to talk about, is we're open. If I'm given topics from spirit, I share that, but I don't have no topics tonight. So, anybody have any? I don't know if LD left by accident or intentional, but we love you, LD. Sorry we didn't get to talk. Sometimes people get knocked off, and in which case, just come back. Anybody have any issues, any questions? Otherwise, it'll be a very short evening. 48 minutes, I think it would be a new record.
Yeah.
Oh, Claudia's on. Welcome, welcome, Claudia.
You. I have.
Hi. Hi.
I was
Have
driving.
any?
That's why I couldn't get online sooner. Hi, Heather. Hi,
Hi.
Casey. Oh my God. I feel like I don't know what's going on with the cosmos and the stars. Obviously, there's a lunar eclipse going on. But it feels, wait, my cat. It feels like the whole, probably all the history of the dysfunction in my family just unleashed all at once. Like, I mean, I think all of the anger that I've ever harbored against my dad and my mom came out this week. My oldest brother just like lost his shit, pardon my French, on me. I literally like got in the car and I lived pretty close to my office and I saw it. Stacy sent me the link that you were on, and like I literally sat in my car and just tuned into the meditation, and it was like exactly what I needed to just like repel that emotional vomit he just spewed on me. So I would just love some context as to what the heck is going on.
Well, I don't know how you receive that information, but it's important to receive it with love. If you're sending out love, imagine this, what you're calling vomit. So we'll call it toxic vomit that others are sending to you. Just be dissolved with this unconditional love. Don't own it. Don't personalize it. It's much bigger than you. It's a condition of his heart, his soul, that he's carrying a lot of his anger, but you don't need to amplify the anger. You don't want to respond in kind. You want to respond with love. And then the anger that's coming out of you for your mom and dad, again, imagine just wrapping it all your toxic vomit with love. So it's going out into the universe, but it's going out with love. And again, don't try to judge it or hold it back or pretend it doesn't exist. You're venting, you're clearing in order to find harmony. When we're sending love out to the man who'll become known as the Antichrist, that's for the universe and all of us. We're going to know a lot more about him as time goes on. He's very active now, but we don't know the identity yet. Your mother and father are like many versions of that. So you want to love them just like you would anyone else and let it go. You don't own it. If there's something that you need to deal with it, ask that you be shown it. Otherwise, just love it and release.
Mm-hmm.
And just thinking that, can you feel how it's different? It's dissolving. You know, that's sort of, you know, think of it as like the Mr. Clean magic eraser. That it's that love energy just dissolves if you can keep from owning it. Once you personalize it, once you own it, then it's going to fester and be within you. So you don't want to own it. It's interesting. I'm feeling these feelings. I'm just going to love them and release them and just be the observer. I'm trying to think of an example. If you've ever watched, I don't watch news anymore, but I watch YouTubes and they'll show like news events, and I can watch the news event and go, interesting. I don't have to own those because they're not mine. I'm just observing. Okay. I can feel very differently about it when I was watching Channel 7 News one time, and this was when I was watching TV many, many years ago, and I'm watching it, and there's my cousin, and he's doing an undercover buy on national TV, and it's like, oh, no, don't do it. It was very different watching it when I was personally engaged in it versus watching it when I have no personal stake. And that's what the difference that you need to move into. Be observant, watch it. There's a reason why it's coming to your attention, but don't own it.
So I have a question with that though, because I mean, I can do that with like the news and other people, but it's super hard not to internalize it when it's like, you know, piercing arrows coming at you from your family.
All right. So then do whatever energetically you need to do. Piercing arrows, imagine putting a love shield around you so the arrows can't get in. They just bounce back.
But this is after the fact, right? Like I received all of that negativity in the moment it happened. And so now like, all right, it happened.
Well, for this time, it's already happened. And this time you experience, but this isn't going to be the last time you get negative arrows. You're learning how to handle those negative arrows. When you begin and you feel the impact of those negative arrows, that's what the planet is getting constantly. That's why we're sending out love and light and asking for discernment and truth, because that's coming in mega quantities to the earth. As you learn to do yourself your own vibratory shield so that it can't get through, you begin to have more power in putting the vibratory shield around the earth. You know, and you're going through things that are much bigger than you, although they're part of your experiences, so that you learn how to handle them. You learn how to deal with them. So this time you can go back, because time is not. We'll watch one of my favorite movies, Bill and Ted's
Excellent Adventure.
Excellent Adventure, yes. And they took their magic phone booth and went back in time. Well, imagine going back in time to this experience and bubble yourself, and then allow yourself to re-experience it from a higher level. That was how I reacted without preparation. How would I react to it again? And so you can look and see the pain he's in, the discomfort, that what's his triggers, what is he bringing up, what's reading between the lines. So you can go back and re-experience it, but from another perspective. That's where you grow. Then the next time it comes up, you don't have to be in the lower perspective. You can just start in the higher perspective. With the child care centers, for 20 years, I owned 4 daycare centers. I taught the employees that when a parent was upset about something, when they were angry or unhappy, they had very specific things they had to do. One is they could not give any information. They could not justify or defend or explain. They were to get a paper and pencil, and they were to write down everything the parent's saying, and just thank you, and I'm, just really be appreciative, because that parent is sharing with them their discomfort, whatever it is that they're upset about, and write it down. The writing it down kept that person's mouth shut, because no matter what you say to someone who's upset, you're going to put more fuel in the fire. So you don't want to say anything. You want to just listen, take in experience. And the writing it down, the journaling, or whatever just keeps that employee of mine busy. And I said, then just tell them you'll check into it, or thank you for sharing it, or have some way of finishing the conversation, because they're going to spew, they're going to vomit for a while. So as long as they're needing to vomit, you just take notes and then thank them for sharing it, and then tell them, I'll share with Heather, or whatever the appropriate comment would be. Then wait at least 2 hours before you respond to that parent, before you talk to them about the issue or what's going on, because it takes that long to get back out of that emotion back into a rational state. And at the time that was so meaningful for me was I had a 2-year-old teacher who was just this gentle little, 5 foot, very sweet. I remember vividly, even though it's been a long time, woman who came to me in tears. I mean, she's sobbing. She says, Heather, I did what you said. I did what you said. And this parent had just screamed and hollered at her. And she says, I did everything you said. I didn't say anything to her, but it was really hard because she was saying, and this parent had just really reamed her out for the 2-year-old had lost their sock during a nap time. And so when the parent came in to get the kid and they only had one sock, that was sort of the breaking point for the parent. And I said, don't worry about it. You did the right thing. I'll call the parent later. Well, the next morning, the parent came in with this long letter to this 2-year-old teacher, apologizing for behavior and saying, it was totally out of line, and just singing her praises, because she really was an excellent teacher. Singing her praises. She says, during the day, I'd had this go wrong and that go wrong and that go wrong. And when we couldn't find a sock, it was just like the straw that broke the camel's back. And I just vented. And she said, I'm so sorry because I didn't mean any of it, and blah, blah, blah. And so then the teacher was very happy and saying, look, how lovely to get this wonderful letter. And I told her, don't you know how fortunate you were that parent dumped on you? Because if it hadn't been on you, it probably would have been the child on the way home, or, the husband or something else, because that person had to vent. They were at their breaking point and they had to vent. And so they vented on the staff member, and the staff member recorded it all and was able to be there to get it, and didn't defend, didn't justify, didn't explain, just listened so the parent could vent. And that's really what, when people are having to explode, when people are having to vent, it's really the stuff inside them, the pressure. It has nothing to do with you. That's why not taking it personal is very important. Obviously, you took it personally, but he just needed to vent. Mm-hmm. And be aware there are times where you may just need to vent. And so it's all part of the human experience of getting back into balance. If you eat a cootie, you may have to throw up. And you may have to throw up in order to get back in balance. Get rid of this germ. And so the same thing is emotionally. Sometimes people just have to vent. Don't take it personally. It's certainly not desirable. But if they do it, have your own technique to deal with it. But don't take it personally. And certainly don't feed the fire while it's going on.
And one of the techniques that Mom has said before that I find a little helpful is imagine like a puke bag, where we need it sometimes just to vent and get it off our chests. But because we can be powerful, sometimes for other people listening, it could be like a lot. So imagine I do that, put it in the bag. And so all the negative energy that I need to just get out, I literally put it in like an alchemizing bag, that it just mutes it. No one else can be affected for it because it's not meant to hurt. I just need it out for myself. Or if you're with someone, because it's your energy field, right? You can put that little bag bubble. So you're completely, because you get to own your energy and what comes into it. And so you put your protection on, but then you can also put that visual bag. So whatever words are coming back, they're actually going into this bag that instantly transmute it. So you don't have to. And another time where I knew I was going into a conversation with someone that's going to be not so pretty is I imagine like playing volleyball, or not volleyball, tennis. But the whole goal of tennis is to avoid the ball. Right? So energetically, and this is one of the things you learn in Tantra too, to hold that space, is you allow them to have stuff, but you're not attached to it. So you just hold the space for them and you imagine it, you're not engaging and hitting back, you're just okay, and they just need to be heard. And sometimes that in itself is like,
And learning not to talk, not to respond, but just take it in is very important. A lot of people play what I call verbal badminton. So someone says something and they're immediately responding. They're really hitting it back. But I didn't do that. That's not what I meant. And you did this. And why did you do this? And so they're every time you say anything, they're hitting it back, which means they're not taking any of it in. So by just taking it in, not responding, you're not feeding their fire.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's not you, it's his need. Now if you're having a strong emotional reaction to it, there's a lesson there for you too. Emotion always indicates a lesson. So you need to sit with that, but maybe not in that moment, but at some point find a space to sit down and go, okay, what's my ownership? What is that reflecting in me? Why am I having this reaction? And just based on that little bit of what you said, it may be that, why does he get to tell me those things and I haven't said those to mom and dad? I haven't expressed my toxic negativity to them, or that, how can he say this when I've already gone through X, Y, and Z? So that you have to look to see, why are you having the emotional reaction to it? But as long as you're having an emotional reaction, you have part ownership. It's his issue, but you may have shared interest in that.
Mm-hmm.
But you do that in the quiet, private time. You don't do it while you're, engaged in battle or verbal badminton.
Mm-hmm.
And do not respond. If he asks a question and waits, then follow your heart and you may answer that. But as long as he's just spewing, he's never going to hear it. And even if he hears it, it's only going to feed the fire.
Mm-hmm. I have a question about, because I know that, one of the things you ladies talk a lot about is just how much, energy is entering the planet at this time, and how much just the heightened energy, right? Especially right now during the eclipse. So there's a lot of anger in my family. Like there's a very patriarchal, really intense, macho men in my life. I have two older brothers that have never sought spirituality, and a father that is worse.
Well, first of all, just because they're not seeking spirituality doesn't mean they're not spiritual. Some of the highest spiritual beings on the planet are not playing the spiritual seeker game. They've already got beyond that. So that may or may not be an indication of their spiritual abilities.
But they really are super angry people. Very angry, extremely angry people. So and you never know when they're going to go off. It's like this walking on eggshells kind of a thing, right? And so my question to you is, I know I need to do so much healing, because I don't want to end up with some degenerative autoimmune, disorder. My dad is now having, for the third time, brain tumors. He has a huge brain tumor that's been found in his brain. And I have a friend of mine who's very psychic, and she was just like, look, your dad just has so much hidden trauma from his childhood that the same tumor keeps growing back in the same place. And so, I'm worried that my brothers will just, they're already having one of them's diabetic, the other one's obese, and, those are, I'm just, I guess my question to you is, being surrounded by these men who are so intense. My mom is extremely subservient, submissive. She just lets my dad walk all over her, disrespect her. I can't do that, Heather.
All right, stop talking so I can answer.
What?
My brain doesn't hold all these things, so I want to share before I forget it. First of all, recognize you put yourself in that situation. You chose to be born into that family. So there's some lesson for you in that mess. Second of all, anger in Heather Harder's world always, not just sometimes, but always mask hurt and sadness. And as you're saying, that anger comes from not having a way of healing that hurt and anger. And men especially have a very hard time admitting to hurt and anger because they feel
Mom. Pause for a second because it's kicking me off. And so I have to go back live. So hold that thought about Heather Harder anger. Okay. Hang on.
so you get to hear it again. Thank you, Stacy.
Well, I tried to stop you earlier, but you weren't listening to me. Okay. So give me 2 seconds because gotta post it and then I can go live again. But there's a lot of people they're interested in
Okay, you just tell me when to go.
I know. Okay. It says
Okay.
checking. All right. So now I'm live. All right. So welcome back.
right.
You just joined us. This is part 2 of Cosmic Conversations. Apparently Instagram is re-kicking us off after time stuff. So that's new. So we were at anger in Heather Harder's world is a mask for Seth. Go
All
ahead.
right. A lot of people talk about anger differently, and they have different reasons for it. So I say that it's my truth that anger always masks hurt and sadness. So when you have someone who's got anger issues, especially men, have a hard time admitting that they're hurt or sad because that's vulnerability. Men have a very hard time being vulnerable. So it's safer, it's more macho to be mad, to be angry. How dare they do X, Y, and Z? But it really is that little boy going, "Why did you hurt me? That didn't feel good." And they're not willing to feel the hurt and sadness. So they come across angry. That's safer. If you in a quiet, again, assuming you want to resolve this in another way, you may take, and same thing with your parents. You're saying you have all this anger for your parents. Spend time journaling it. What is it that hurt me? What is it makes me sad from this relationship from my parents? And as you begin to let it go and release it to the universe to be transformed, talk to their higher selves, you can then begin to release your own anger. And with your brother, just if it feels right, I don't know your relationship, I don't know the circumstances, but at some point you might, have an opportunity of having a real conversation with him and saying, you were really angry the other day. And one of my friends thinks that anger always, masks hurt and sadness. Have I done something that hurts you? Have I done something that makes you sad? Or what in that situation might have been the cover up for hurt? So you can talk to them outside that emotion, but having them reflect on it. And again, you have to know the situation. When I did teenage foster parenting, major anger issues, but the kids had been bounced around like, a volleyball. They were so many slams and bams, and, baseballs haven't been hit and had those kind of experiences that these kids had gone through. So they had every right to be angry and sad. My job as the foster parent was to help them identify it and find a way of finding resolution with it and move through it. And I was successful sometimes, but not all the times. 2 of the kids ended up having major heroin addictions and drug addictions, alcohol addictions, substance abuses, sexaholics, all those things are another way of keeping yourself from feeling. If I don't want to feel, then I can mask it with chemicals or substances where I don't have to feel. And that's what a lot of drug addicts do, is they just mask because it's too painful to feel. So you sort of look at your family dynamics and again, your brother's life is not your business. How he deals with his stuff, you certainly can help him and plant some seeds to see if he's ready for it. But his life is not important to you. Your life is important. Your brother blowing up at you, it's easy to get space between his life and your life, so he can't blow up at you. But your anger is paramount. Your anger will affect your health. His anger will affect his health. That's his business. And you can pray for him. You can send him light and love. But you have to let him live his experiences. Any other questions coming from online, or Claudia, any other questions? From anybody? Okay. Well, you can think, Claudia. Josie's got a question. Okay.
You were talking to her about, you know, her brothers, and I thought you said we could talk to their higher selves, or did you
Yes.
mean?
Yes.
Okay.
For instance, her brother may not be receptive to a conversation, but
Okay.
she can talk to his higher self and say, you know, I really would like this to come to resolution. I'd like to find peace with it. Please help me find or tell him. And so she can talk to the higher self without his awareness. And then the higher self will bring resolution as appropriate. But yes.
That is cool.
We're so much more than our little limited physical body would indicate. And so we can work with that higher part of us to resolve issues. In fact, I was working with one client whose father had shot and killed her mother at age 21. The father was also a minister. So in one fell swoop, she felt guilty, first of all, that she wasn't there to stop it. And then she lost her mother. And because her father, you know, sort of dropped out of her life, she lost her father too. The last time she talked to him, at that point, she was in her 40s, and it happened when she was 21. But the last time she talked to him was in court, when he was going to court for it. And he was found, I don't know what they found him, but he didn't do any jail time for the murder. And so, you know, she lost her faith in the court system. She lost in that stuff. And I said, you know, as awful as that experience is, there's a reason why you went through it. How did it help you? And that was her assignment, that between the session the following week, said, I want you to think about what were the benefits that you gained from that experience. How were you changed? How were you altered? How did your life change because of this very traumatic event? And she was like, oh, no, it's nothing. And I said, just spend time thinking about it. Be open that there's ways that served you. So the next week, she said, okay, she was a reporter. And she said it taught her there was always more to the story, that she would always go deeper into the storyline and always ask, you know, more profound questions and recognize the human cost of all these things that we just report. And so she named, you know, 5 or 6 different things of ways it made her grow up faster and blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, so what you need to do now that you can see that there were, not only was it an awful experience, but it was a positive experience. If you gain from it as well. So now I want you to talk to his higher self, and I want you to tell him whatever you need to tell him. You know, whatever it is that's on your chest, you know, you need to get it off, but to his higher self. And I suggested she write him. She did that. And within a week, this man that she hadn't talked to for over 20 years called her and wanted to meet her. And she agreed to meet him. And so then in person, she was able to say a lot of the things she had said. And part of it was that she gave him back the responsibility of it, that she had owned the experience of feeling guilty because she wasn't there to stop it. And she could give it back to him. And she said for the first time, she recognized him being just this scared, lonely man. And so she could see him in a different light after this experience. And she had, you know, 4 or 5 years of relationship with him, you know, not warm and friendly, but a relationship with him before he died of cancer. And so many things can be worked out through our higher selves, where we don't have to do it in physical. And if we do need to do it in physical, the universe will arrange that if we're, you know, playing with the higher self. And I do recommend writing like a letter to them, because it keeps you focused. If you're just doing it in your head, you sometimes get sidetracked and start daydreaming and go someplace else. But if you're physically writing out a letter, then it keeps you sort of more focused and grounded. And then when you're done with your letter, find a safe place to burn it. Let the smoke, the Native Americans believe the smoke carried it to spirit. And so find a way of releasing that energy, because you don't want to capture and keep that energy. It's about releasing it.
Heather, I have a question about, people who are passing on to the other side, or close to it.
Yeah.
My father is experiencing a tumor the size of, I don't know,
Golf ball?
yeah, not quite as big as a golf ball, maybe like half the size of a golf ball, but it's deep inside his, it's like in the center of his brain, very, very deep. And we don't know if he's going to make it through this one. I mean, he's had 2 other experiences. He's had 33 radiation treatments, and then he had brain surgery. I mean, like, he's an intense warrior. Because of this brain tumor, he's brain injured, and this kind of brain injury causes him to be in constant fight or flight mode. And so he's a raging lunatic at this point. I took some things personally and screamed at him because he's forcing me to get vaccinated. Like, he's telling me he's going to take away my inheritance, that I can't see my mom. Like, there's been some serious drama over the last week about it. And I'm like, hell no, I'm not getting vaccinated. Are you freaking kidding me? And so a lot of my friends are like, just lie. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to lie. So I've come to the conclusion that I'm going to have to lie about it if I intend on seeing my mom before my dad dies. Who knows when that's going to happen? And I'm okay with lying. I finally came down to the conclusion that
That would be the advice would give you too.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, you're asking me to commit suicide. Asking me to inject myself with that stuff is asking me to commit suicide. I might as well just kill myself now.
And you're also taking orders from a brain damaged man. So that doesn't make sense. You have to be responsible for your own life. But because he's impaired, just like when people have Alzheimer's, best just agree to them and say, yes, dear, you're right, and not try and convince them what day of the week it is, or, what their name is. They just tell you that the wise, medically sound thing to do is just placate them, let them be. And that's exactly the advice I would give you for your father, knowing that he's not in his right mind and you have to be. Because just like he's responsible for his own life, and we're all going to die. We're all going to die. Having this 6-time cancer, brain tumor kind of thing just says that he wants you guys to be really prepared for it. The worse he is, the more the people living say, let's let him move over because he's done with this lifetime. And there's less hurt, less sadness at his passing. And that sounds cold, but it's actually very compassionate, that the older, more evolved souls will have a slower, lingering, more lucky death. And because that prepares everybody around them so they don't go through so much mourning. When someone has a quick, sudden, death, like a car accident or a suicide or something, then everybody left going, oh, I was so sudden. I just talked to him yesterday, and they have a much more traumatic time with the passing. So young, immature souls tend to find a quick way of getting out of life, where more evolved souls will do a slower, lingering, more traumatic kind of death. So on one hand, your dad is being kind to you by having these things, and you just keep loving him, love his little golf ball, love his, all his experiences. And yes, Dad, whatever you say. Yes, Dad, whatever you say. But in truth, you have to be responsible for your own life. And I don't see this lying so much. And watch any of those YouTube clips on how you talk to people with dementia or Alzheimer or other kind of brain impairments. They all tell you the same things. Just don't aggravate them. Don't alienate them. Just agree with whatever they're saying. Yes, the refrigerator is 10 foot tall. Yes, I was here, haven't been here for 6 months. Just whatever it is they're saying, you just agree with. And because your father is brain impaired, it's kind of the same treatment. And it's not like a lying. It's not like you're trying to deceive him. You're just trying to make it easier so he doesn't get agitated and alienated.
And then as far as this, you know, the because he's brain injured, he pushes everybody away. He's like basically brainwashing he brainwashed my mom to get vaccinated, and like basically brainwashed my whole family into getting vaccinated.
Well,
My
first of all, that's your family. That's their choices. Your mother has a brain, she has a will, and if she's choosing to let a brain damaged man make decisions for her, hey, there we go. As a country, we're letting a brain damaged man make decisions for us. So it's a really good model for what's going on in the country. You know, right now, Biden is doing 100 million vaccinate. Oh no, he's doing, I forget how many millions of dollars worth of vaccinations that he's sending out to 100 countries in the world so they can get vaccinated. Now, who the hell said we need to pay for vaccinations for 100 different countries? But more likely, why are 100 countries letting this brain damaged man make decisions for them? But it's their free will.
So my question is, you know, because he's isolating himself, isolating my mom. I think my mom has Stockholm syndrome because she constantly defends him. She stands up for him, and
What's called enabling him.
she's
Start
constantly-
going to AA meeting, the Al-Anon meetings for the families of people who have addictions, and it's classic enabling. And so, and because he probably had rageaholic is an addiction as well as, you know, drugs and alcohol. So I was telling Stacy, I would really like to see her get into the Al-Anon programs because it's very therapeutic, it's free, and it helps you understand the dynamics of your family better. And everybody has them. They're all over the world, free. And so your mom is a classic enabler. And when you go to those classes, you will see the role that you've chosen to play, because that's one of the things of a dysfunctional family. Everybody plays a role. Everybody has to play the role to keep the system going. And so it's easy to see your mom's role. It's easy to see your dad's role. We're kind of blinded to our role, but I bet if we talk privately, we could lay out your whole family plan based on what they've all chosen to do. The more healthy the family, the less roles that are taken on.
they want to vaccinate the children, and I'm such a hard no. And it breaks my heart to think that they're going to vaccinate my 8-year-old niece the moment the vaccination comes around for that. And so what do you suggest as far as accepting this? Because I've tried to send them all kinds of research.
Okay, the more you preach and argue with them, the more they're going to defend their position. So that's the last thing you want to do. You might find an article and just, you know, a quick paragraph and say, you know, I saw this the other day and I know how the vaccines are a big issue in your life. I thought you might enjoy reading it. And send them a quote or a passage or something. Not a full page, they'll never read it, but just 2 or 3 lines that you've highlighted and said, you know, thought you'd find this interesting, as a neutral third party. You know, I was listening to this thing the other day and he said X. Let me share it with you. And just feed them a drop of information from a third party, and you stay neutral. I don't care what you do. It's your life. It's their life. And you just do what you need to do, but you drop them information. In my graduate classes, I have often come across administrators who are adamant about some kind of position. And of course, in early childhood, we'd have a thing called developmentally appropriate activities and developmentally appropriate education. And it's a very different than the traditional academic memorize the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. So I had a kindergarten teacher who's the principal wanted her to keep her kids in their seat doing their workbooks and their dittos, and didn't want them moving around doing activities, which is the antithesis of developmentally appropriate. So anyway, I told her the same technique. I said, just send it to all the decision makers, the school boards, the administrators, and just say, you know, I know this is an issue we've talked about. I thought you'd find this interesting, and just highlight a paragraph or 2 at max. Sentence or 2 is much better. Brief, what the most powerful phase. Within 2 months of just dribbling information to them about every week, She was asked to be the design. They were building a new elementary school, to design the classroom, design the curriculum. They asked her to head up the kindergarten because she'd shown she was concerned, she was well read, she was well versed in it, and that she was really wanting the best decision. But it was never I feel versus you feel, or I'm right and you're wrong. It was just third party information. I found this. I know it's something we're talking about. I think you'd find it interesting. You know, here's so and so who, you know, had this. I thought you'd find it interesting. And let them make up their own mind. In the end, it will be making up their own mind, but you will have done everything that you can. Again, talk to their higher self and let them make the decision. She's not your child. You do not get to make decisions for her. Her mother and father get to make the decisions for her. And you have to go along with it. If they want to lambaste their bodies, it wouldn't be the first people in the world that's done that. Look at all the alcoholics and drug addicts and abusers of different kind who have chosen to hurt themselves in various ways. People who have been, you know, partnered with people who were abusive and beat them up and all this stuff. People make decisions that aren't in their best interest, and our job is to love them and allow them. Don't make their lessons easy. Don't just pretend it doesn't exist. Don't, you know, pat them on the back for doing things that are not healthy. But in the end, it's their right to make the decision, and you have to be good with that. But you don't let a brain impaired man make your decisions. So reaction to that, Claudia. Reaction to that first before we move on.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for the perspective. I've literally just have suffered with this, you know.
Remember, you're personalizing it.
Yeah,
It's not
I know.
you.
I know. No,
Don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I'm also just because I think my dad's expressing so much anger lately that I mean, I did an Akashic record reading with a lady a couple of days ago, and so much of my childhood that I blocked out came up. You know, lots of really just, my dad has never laid a hand on me, but extremely abusive verbally and emotionally. And so like all these feelings of impotence, of like being in a little body and being so pissed off that I couldn't take something and hurt him, you know, anger, and mostly this intense feeling of impotence for being so little and not being able to stand up to him. And so just one last question, like, what you like, I guess, I mean, it's a loaded question, a big question, but how do you have any tips on like transforming childhood trauma? Or do you have a book on it? Because I know you've written tons of books.
Recognize that everything you went through was a choice that you made prior to coming into the earth. Nothing happened between the years of birth through the age of 12 that wasn't preordained and chosen and accepted and agreed to by you. So how did those experiences, look for the other side of it, how did those experiences alter your life? How are you using those experiences now after the age of 13? That's what you need to look at. Because if you only see it from one perspective, like, oh, bad, then you can't grow from it. But if you recognize you chose it, now why did I choose that? What was it that it was supposed to teach me? What was it I was supposed to experience? Because you experienced it for a reason. How has that altered your life? You know, and so that's what you need to look at. I use the example in our area. We had John Gacy, a mass murderer who killed tons of people and buried them in his basement. He was sexually abused and badly abused as a child. So he grew up to perpetuate that and kill people. But Paula Hawkins out of Florida was badly abused as a child. She grew up to become a US Senator, and she created laws and worked to help identify and eliminate child abuse and identify predators to get them off the streets. So they both had the same experience, but they used them differently. one unhealthy and one much more productively. And so it isn't what we went through. If you think of it as, oh, just trauma, poor me, then you lose the benefits of it. Well, how has that helped you? When someone has been abused, sexually abused as a child, they can grow up to be a wacko adult who needs therapy, or they can use those experiences to help other people and help identify people who've gone through the abuse and help them move through that healing process. It's a choice, but the best in the world, as I've said many times, your mess is your message. We go through those messes in order to help others because it gives you street credibility. You go through the mess in order to have the message. If you haven't done it, then you don't really have the credibility to help other people. You don't have the way of supporting other people because you really don't have the compassion and understanding. So that's your mess. Whether you're traumatized by it is a choice, and how are you going to use it, or how have you used it to help make you a better, more compassionate, understanding adult? Why do you think you went through it? So ask you, that's the internal work that you have to do. Why did I choose that? What is it? How has it benefited me? How can I benefit from it and move through it? But you have to feel the feelings. When you block it out, or mask it in some way, it's a way of avoiding the feeling so you can't go from it. So
I love you, Heather. Thank you so much.
does that help?
I hope I get to meet you one day and just give you a huge bear hug.
Well, so far, the people I've met from online, I'm always shocked because they're so tall. you on the call, you just look, short and regular, but they're so tall. So I'll probably think the same thing about you too. So, oh my God, I didn't know you're so tall.
Claudia,
Liz?
petite and little, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm a shorty. I'm like 5'2".
Oh, okay. Well, then maybe I'll go, oh, you're so short.
5'1.25", so I just
But
think
I would love to give you a huge hug. You just look so huggable.
I look forward to it. I travel. Now the COVID's on the backside. Feel free to invite me down there. There's places I could go talk and we can hug, and that's really how my whole schedule is always done. Just people invited me to go to their area and speak, and I did. I go where I'm invited.
Cool.
But just trust that you are a master. And I hear people saying, I want to become a master. You're born a freaking master. You just have to access that wisdom and begin to trust your own inner knowing. And ask yourself, why did you put yourself in that circumstance? What is it that you're to learn, to grow, to be? Mm-hmm. All right, now we'll give anybody else a chance. Anybody else? Hi, Anna. Hi, Mayfer. Anybody else have questions or comments? Stacy, you want to say something?
Yeah, I have a few that I've gotten online, so I just want to.
Oh, good. One at a time. Let me answer them one at a time. So just read one.
Okay. One, I was going back. If you'd like to rewrite it word for word, you can. But because we had to re-go live, during your visualization, when you were saying about releasing, I think all the things that no longer serve you or hold that are less than the love and light.
Yes.
They had I think from my understanding, it was a big like relief, and then there was tears. It wasn't like angst tears or sadness tears, but just had a lot of tears coming, which for me is always that deep soul message of like, this is important.
It's also another way of releasing. They've analyzed the contents of tears, and happy tears have a different chemical composition than sad tears, than releasing tears. So that was just an empowering of their release. And a lot of people fight their tears, like, I don't want to cry. Well, that's the fighting of the release. So just celebrate the tears, but congratulations. It means it came from a very deep place.
And in Tantra, they even call the tears is Amrita of the eyes, which is the divine nectar from the heavens. And so when you are in that, like you can also, if you're in a blessing place, you can do the blessing and honor and gratitude. Sometimes I do that with my tears and I can feel its depth. Okay, so one of them, Becky Mack, her 13-year-old son received a letter from the governor today letting him know that he can get jabbed if he chooses. He just has to ask a healthcare provider. And I cannot believe the governor is sending children letters, and that's in our state of Indiana.
That's crazy.
Well, first of all, I would
Wow.
love for her to take a copy and send it to me. And second of all, I think it's really undermining the parental consent issue because you're still the parent, the child is still under 18, and to violate that is huge. Whoever that lawyer is, because they try to do the same thing in California and bypass parents by having the schools do the inoculation. And a lawyer who's been a human rights lawyer got a hold of that and just caused a big concern. I would certainly send that letter to everybody, and I would get it publicly posted everywhere I could. But that's huge, and I would make sure that I was head of the campaign to get the governor out. I don't like Holcomb anyway, but because he is literally saying, "Parents be damned, we'll do what we want." And that if I were that Becky, I would talk to my son to say, what does this tell you? Why do you think they would go to you as a child? Because legally he's still a child. Spiritually he's an adult, but legally he's still a child, and try to twist his mind to think that's what he needs to do. It's because they don't want the parent who's acting in the child's best interest to make those decisions. I would be so off the charts. Talk about having a mass action. I would do everything I could to create a lawsuit against Holcomb for doing that. I think it's a huge violation of parental rights.
Well, and it's also our tax
So
dollars.
thank you for sharing that. I'm going to have, okay, hold on a second. Yeah, it upsets me so much that I've got to calm down for a minute, because it really is horrendous, and our tax dollars are the least of it. It's going to be altering how many 13-year-olds may do that, and it's going to be altering them forever. And you could tell the people who are pro shots, they're the people that feed off the mainstream media all the time because they're so injected full of fear and manipulation. So bless their heart, let truth prevail. We're going to send love and light out to all of the children, all of the people who are being influenced, pro or con, for the vaccines, so that divine will be done. And when I look at a outcome, it's divine will. There's a plan in place. We want divine will to be done. Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Thank
you, Becky, for sharing that.
Our Canada friend, Gosha, said that when she's in Canada, it's also happening. And then she heard, as a parent, if you allow your child to go to school, then you are really giving them consent to convince the child, because they're doing a lot for the school. So obviously that brought up a lot of important things. You have a question from Seek the Empress, Miss Christine. Yes. How do you choose your highest timeline?
I don't know what choose your highest timeline means. I don't use that term. I don't know what it means. To me, it's a lot of words. Stacy uses it, something Stacy seems to like. I don't use it, so I can't respond to the highest timeline. What I see is that in every situation, we have a variety of ways of responding, reacting, choosing. The higher we come from in our divine order, then the more we're going to come from love and light and acceptance and honoring. We still don't have to go along with it. Compliance does not mean a higher level of existence. So just like you saw me get kind of irritated at sending a letter to a 13-year-old, we don't have to agree to it. Jesus always acted from his higher perspective, but he didn't go along with the money changers or other things. He showed emotion. He objected when things needed to be objected. He was in his truth. And to me, that's the higher self. When we're coming from our highest, most divine self, we take that breath, we take that moment to act consciously. We act intentionally. We don't just react. We don't just flare and do knee-jerk behavior. We act consciously, understanding the consequences of every action, every thought, every behavior that is there. I'm going to read, someone's written a very long thing. The World Health Organization must be declared that sending your child to school during a vaccine administration day is considered consent. That's bullshit. They won't even let kids go on a field trip without a parent consent. This is bullshit. And I would have the whole parent population attend meetings and say, we do not give consent for the schools to do whatever they want. We do not give up our parental rights because the child's going to school, and make it a movement. Watch those videos that are out with that one lawyer that's attended school board meetings and talked to the group. But that, if you agree to that, if you accept that, you get what you get. But that's bullshit. And I would, if it were me, I would lead the biggest demonstration at the next school board meeting. I would oust everybody I could. I would demand whoever's putting this forth, which is usually the superintendent, I'd get him fired immediately. And every parent should fight that. It is not the law. The law is very clear about parent consent. Sending your child to school is for an education. It is not for their medical upkeeping.
Well,
feel free to contact me, because those kinds of things are just baloney.
Okay. And Becky said she'll take some pictures and send. And then going back to your mess is your message. The question, it's kind of a couple parts. So how can we clear out what is the mess? I sort of have an idea of what happens as a child, but I don't have as clear. I cannot help anyone unless I heal.
Okay, it's the mind that wants to hear it, the mind that wants to see it, the mind that wants clarity. Your soul doesn't need it. Your soul knows everything it needs to know. It's about just releasing it. When I'm, in my house right now, I'm getting ready for a move. Don't know where I'm moving to, but I'm getting ready for a move. I had my daughter go through my closet. I've got to cut down. When you sell your house, they say your closets have to look half empty. And my closets are like packed together. So my other daughter, went through my closet and got rid of half my clothes. Now they're in a pile, and I'm going to go through them and see if there's anything I want to save. But I don't have to see them. I don't have to acknowledge them. I've given them permission to let go of a lot of my excess. And the same thing when you let go, just let go of everything that doesn't serve you and trust that you will. If you watch, and I highly recommend, it's very entertaining, an episode of Hoarders. The worst hoarders have to look at every little piece and say yes or no, and they spend so much time thinking about, do they want to keep it or let it go? And you think, oh my God, it's a pile of trash. Why are they going through everything? But it's the mind that says, I have to see this. I have to make a decision about it. And that's what's going on energetically when you feel like you have to know with clarity what happened. No, you don't. You just have to know that you went through a whole lot of stuff. And if it needs to know, then let me know. If not, let it go. Just let it go. You don't need to recognize it. You don't need to understand it. That's your mind giving you false information. I don't need to know everything that Carrie went through to release. I just trust her. And I don't have time to go through that because I'm going through other things. And the same in every other aspect of your life.
Okay. Well, Juan has also got a second part question to that is, and also my becoming. Thank you for answering.
First of all, great questions though. Great topics. Thank you all for bringing this up. These are all very important.
It says, but in a sense of childhood trauma, by helping others in a place of unconsciousness, could it be counterproductive? ? Like as a tarot readers and spiritual cheaters that don't do their work. I would go with, first of all, any teacher you listen to, always start with protection, guidance, and to know truth in everything. So that way, even the people, you can get more alignment. It is my truth that I would not go to a trauma teacher who is obvious still in their trauma and hasn't necessarily moved through it. Trauma shows up in so many ways. And I think we're all here as light workers. We've all experienced trauma in some way, because we're here to clear the collective consciousness. And so I feel like we've taken on I feel all light workers have dealt with trauma. There's different levels of healing. And for me, I've dove deep into the trauma work over the years, but it's also like an onion. It's a layer, and then you get into a deeper layer, and then there's another layer. And so I believe as a human, we're still in a human experience. We're still evolving. We're still learning every day. Are we perfect? No, because we'd be dead. But it's looking to see energetically start to feel it. And you can feel when people still have a lot of unprocessed stuff. I hope that helps.
Read the question again and I'll respond.
Okay. So this is it's a two-part question. So in the sense of childhood trauma, by helping others in the place of unconsciousness, could it be counterproductive? As tarot readers and spiritual teachers that don't do their work, ? And then my becoming was saying, as I took it as some of the learning, the deviation, such as tarot, do you wait until you've learned it all because you had never stopped learning, you're open or lined?
Okay, that's enough words because I'm getting lost in all the words. Whoever's writing that needs to make sure that they come down into the core essence of the questions, because they're putting lots of more energy out there, which actually confuses the question. All right, first of all, I'm going to say that yes, helping others can be taking you off your path, off your track. Issues of control. When someone wants to control the situation, the person, or whatever, people who are a lot of control manipulation, usually it's because of lack of trust of themselves and the circumstances. So by controlling all the detail, I don't have to deal with my trust issues. I can just watch your path and I don't have to watch my path. When your nose is in your business, then you don't have time to watch everybody else's business. If you're helping all these other people, it's a way of keeping you from helping yourself. And so you have to look to see, is this part of my path or is this taking me from my path? And you're the only one that can answer that question, but do look at it, do ask yourself those questions, because a lot of the people who want to fix everybody else do it by not fixing themselves. You know, if I'm working on your issues, I can feel good that I'm helping you. But meanwhile, I'm completely oblivious to my stuff. And that is a real issue. Second of all, I've talked about him several times, but I really like his work and I really like him, and you can Wikipedia him and learn more. But this man, oh hell, I just forgot his name. Kohlberg, Lawrence Kohlberg, was a psychologist, and he studied moral development. And what he found was that in moral development, there are 6 levels. The first moral development, you did what was right because you're rewarded. You didn't do what was bad or wrong because you were punished. That was the lowest level. That's level 1, all the way to level 6, where you do what's right, even if you're punished, and you don't do what's wrong or bad or immoral, even if you're rewarded. So that's and you can read a lot more about it. And I have handouts. But what was interesting about it is that level 1s could only learn from level 2s. If a level 3 popped up, they were too far apart. They couldn't get it. They didn't understand it. But a level 2, who's just above the level 1, could help them move to level 2. A level 3 could help level 2, but a level 3 couldn't help a level 1. A level 4 could help a 3, but couldn't affect a 2. And so that with all the moral, I'm getting feedback. With all the moral development, it was the person who was just one step beyond them that could help them the most. And I find that for spiritual development or any other way, if someone has learned it all, they're operating way too far ahead of you, so they really can't help you. You want the person who's just at the next level. They're going to help you move up the scale. Now, Stacy was an ice skater. We've talked about Stacy's ice skating at different times. With her coaches, when she started, she had a coach that was at a level 2. But as she moved to level 2, we had to up her coaches. and we had to keep stepping up her coaches as her skill set stepped up. If we'd have gone to a level, let's say a level 6 coach when she was a level 1 student, it would have been a total waste of money and time because she wasn't there yet. And so when you're looking at anyone to help you, or you help anyone, you look for the best fit, whether it's a life coach or whether it's a spiritual coach or whether it's a teacher. You look for the best fit who can take you to your next level. Any follow-up questions from those things that we've just answered, Stace?
We got some fire signs and some thank yous.
My joy. Okay, Anna, thank you for joining us online. And Maver, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. I got on late. I'm going to listen to the recording.
Okay, it was a fun playing in the light, so feel free to
Yeah,
experience that.
I'm going to need to contact you if it's okay with you for me to call you or text you.
Always. My email is heather@heatherharder.com, but in the subject, put important or personal or something so that it stands out, because I have over 5,000 emails in my email box right now, and unfortunately emails get lost. So if I don't respond within a day or so, go the next step and email me. And then my phone is 219-662-7248. You're welcome to text me on that, and then Facebook texting as well, or messaging or whatever. So
thank you.
But if I don't respond right away, it's because you've gotten lost in the masses. Sorry. It happens.
Okay, that's all right. Thank you.
I find these emails that say, I've got this issue, I gotta talk to you right away, please. Schedule appointment. And it was from a year ago. So
oh my gosh.
I assume they work it out. I usually respond and say, oops, sorry, but I assume they worked it out. So anybody else have questions or comments? Or great conversation though. Claudia, anything else pop up?
Gotta unmute myself.
Oh shoot, I was trying to unmute you. Hang on. I accidentally muted you. Hang on, Claudia. You have to accept the unmute.
There we go. Do you have any tips on how to how to move through the just like the residual stuff? Like I feel like I've had probably for the first, I mean, I've loved my parents unconditionally most of my life, but this past week, all the stuff from childhood came up, So I feel it in my body, and I'm working out a little bit, but I'm getting headaches, random headaches here and there.
It's toxicity. It's toxicity, just like you were drinking poison. You're putting that chemically through your body. So yes, you're going to have all the physical symptoms as if you were drinking poison. So you want to get it out. I do suggest writing it out, because it's a reason why it's coming up. There's something you need to get a hold of it and let it go. So I do recommend that you write out your thoughts and your memories and your things, and then burn it, release it safely, so you don't set the house on fire. But release it. But you do need to examine it, because there's a reason it's popping up. Don't just pretend it's not there or shove it down. That just causes it to pop up in a different way, in a less healthy way. So just, oh, this is interesting. I wonder what this is about. And just journal it to yourself, and what's coming up and what are the thoughts. And then forgive yourself for calling it in. If it happened in your childhood, you asked for it. Everything between birth and age 12, you either agree to or ask or whatever. Experience it and ask to experience shit. I mean, you think about the people who jump mountains with those little winged suits, just for the experience of.
Heather, you froze.
I don't know about you, but I would really be excited about jumping.
Oh shoot.
Good working airplane she jumped out of to experience it. So when we go through these
She keeps freezing for me too.
Yeah.
More.
Like she's saying important stuff.
And you are
she's
so much
freezing.
more. And when you say, oh, I'm wounded for life, you're discounting the power that you are.
Heather, you kept freezing with
Yes.
everything you were just saying. And I was like, oh my God, she's saying important stuff and she's freezing. 'Cause Josie was saying the same thing, that you were freezing for her too.
Yeah.
Well, there are no accidents, but just remember that everything you've gone through has been a soul agreement of some sort to experience. And everything is just experience. As I said, Josie jumped out of a perfectly good airplane just to experience what that feels like. You know, people jump off mountains with those little winged suits to see what that feels like. You know, we do all kinds of things just to experience what it feels like. The soul has done the same thing. We may say, I wouldn't, this was terrible, I'm wounded for life. But the soul says, hey, let's see what this feels like. And so you've agreed to everything you've gone through. Now your job is to integrate it and become a better person for it.
Do you think that right now, I mean, we're experiencing such deep transformations with the energies on the planet. Do you think that people's bodies will like be able to move through this? I have a feel like I get the sense that like there's I know you say that even you, though you're not spiritual, you might be, but like my brothers really aren't. They're drinkers, they're angry people. Like I'm genuinely, concerned that like all of their unresolved stuff is just going to make them super sick, and they're already sick. But like, what's your take on that? Like,
well, your body is what's carrying the transition. The body is what you have to purify in order to carry the higher vibrations. Some bodies will make it, some bodies will not make it. It's a choice. There are bodies where that drinking and smoking and other things are more important than being healthy. They're doing it consciously. They're also doing it vibrationally. And so some bodies are not going to make it through. It's going to, anger, cancer is often the result of anger that's not been dealt with. And so if you look at the different issues and the different things that we experience, diabetics are caused by unhappy, unhealthy life. They need to give themselves more joyful experiences, have more fun. Certainly changing the diet helps, but that's not the core of that vibrational cause. And so, it's a choice. Everybody gets to choose. I'm sure in all of you listening have some unhealthy habits. Are you willing to give up those unhealthy habits in order to have a healthier body? Are you willing to give up processed food? Are you willing to give up low vibrational food? Are you willing to give up that drink, that cigarette, that other things? And everybody gets to choose. They say, well, we have people on the planet who literally live 150 years. According to Neil Donald Walsh, our bodies were meant to be eternal. To physically be able to sustain our body forever. But because we abuse it in different ways, it gives out faster. You can see the people who are slowly killing themselves. You can see the people who are killing themselves faster. And you can see the people who are taking care of their body. It's a choice. You get to choose. And there's no right, there's no wrong, there's experience. And your brothers get to choose what they do with their bodies. You can be a shining example for them, but you can't preach. They're not going to listen to you. You just have to be this beaming ball of health. And then, they'll say, hey, what are you doing? I can't tell you the number of people who've said, how much younger than my years that I look. And it's like, thanks. And I know that at least part of it is due to the lifestyle that I choose to live. My mother, who died much younger than I am now, looked like an old lady when she died. And I don't feel, or I don't think I look as old as she was when she died, and she was much younger than I am. So your body shows the wear and tear that you're putting on your body. So don't do it. Stress kills. Anger, feel it, allow it, identify it, release it, and so forth. And just keep getting rid of the toxins, both physically and emotionally.
I'm complete. I love you so much.
I'm so glad you love me so much.
Thank you.
Tell your friends, because
Yeah.
we want a happy, healthy world. And everybody who knows somebody in another country, call and tell them to tune in. So maybe next week we can have 12 countries represented. Stacy?
Yes, we have a few questions online. One is someone asking about energy. They're getting a lot of like energy bolts coming in, and a lot that's in her arms. And then someone else said that they're getting a lot of top and back of the head tingling all the time. So if you want to just mention.
Okay, first of all, I know Stacy doesn't have it, so I'm going to get it. I was going through these things. I was going through these things 30 plus years ago. This is called Perfect Power and Consciousness, seeking truth through the subconscious and superconscious mind. But it really is about the physical, mental, and spiritual changes that take place as you shift your vibration. And that what I call the head sensations are very much a part of the transformation intentionally, because much of your brain has been dormant. And so as we activate energetically, we are activating part of our brains that haven't been used before. It's where our clairsentient, clairvoyant, clairaudient, and other clair skills, the beyond the physical skills are coming from. And so, yes, you're going to get that. As I've said many times, the back of your head, where your head hinges when you move up and down, that's your activation center for your communication with spirit. We're all connected. We're all connected, but we're learning how to listen better and communicate better. And so you'll get a lot of sensations back in there. But I talk about the things that I went through as I was, not that it's a complete list, but it's what I experienced as I was aligning body and mind and spirit. And it will happen as the energy comes in. You have to create harmony within and energetically bring that into unison. So body, and you're welcome to order the books through me. I think they are on Amazon, although Amazon has been not a friendly place for me, but it's one of my earlier books, and it's $16.95.
And someone's asking about where they can buy it too. You can always call Mom. She can send them to you, and then she gets the things. There are some people that have been selling her books for higher than their normal prices. So I've had people who literally spent double the price, and it's not helping Mom. So I always say order directly from her. It helps her.
Or you can call your local bookstore and stuff and have them order the books and stock the books. Bookstores get a discount, and so that supports your bookstore and keeps them around. But bookstores can get them. They're available through New Leaf and some of the other distributors if you're so inclined, or you can order them from me. Josie says, my brothers and dad are alcoholics. I know exactly what you're going through. Yeah. And rageaholics are also very much in that same category.
And then also someone had a question of if you can just go over some low vibrational food examples.
Well, think about Thanksgiving dinner. If you've ever really overeaten at Thanksgiving dinner, how you feel sludgy, how you feel heavy, how you don't feel good, like, oh, I've just had this wonderful meal. You feel like, I got to go home and just work it off. And that's sort of an indication of low vibrational food. And this is my truth based on my spiritual connection. All of the meats, the way we grow meats, the way we handle meats, have a very low vibration. Not because by nature they have a low vibration, but we treat them so badly. If you can imagine being, penned with hundreds of other animals and you can't move. And even some of the pork, they're in cages that they can't even stand up. And you can research this to 1,000 different places. Those carry a very low vibrational vibration. So many people feel the need to become a vegetarian because of the density, and just begin to feel. I mean, if you've got a carrot that's been grown by a happy, healthy person, it feels different than a carrot from a agri-farm that is like dull. But so begin to use your energy discernment to feel how things feel. You'll tell what they are and feel how your body feels as you take them in. If you drink an alcoholic drink, feel how you feel when the kick wears off, and you'll feel much more sluggish. If you've ever followed much of the Native American traditions, I love the way they would hunt. When they would go out hunting to get food to keep the tribe alive, they would go out.
We're getting kicked off, so it's done. They apparently kick you off now after a certain amount of time.
They probably will charge you to stay on later. Their system.
Well, I think it's because too many people were connecting on their live streams. Because it's been a popular way of people to connect, and even though they've been trying to block it, I think
so maybe we just need to announce that if we get kicked off, we just come back again. So
yeah, but I think it's kind of a lot, but whatever. Okay.
So we'll have to look for a different platform.
I mean, it's fine, still on YouTube, but we have a group, a nice group that comes in from all over. I'm frozen right now, so let me see if it goes live again. Okay, it says I'm live, so it usually takes a few seconds, and I'm totally frozen. So I don't think we're actually live.
Am I live?
No.
Am I frozen?
Hang on. No, I'm gonna get out of it and then open it back up. Mercury.
I can still hear you.
Yay. Okay. So there we go. Now it's working. All right. Checking connection. So it says I am live. So welcome back to part 3 of Cosmic Conversations. So where we left off was talking about low vibrational versus high vibrational food. And within the high vibrational and low vibrational, Mom, you were talking about Native American tradition. So if you'll just go ahead and give me a second so people can join back in. And then okay. I think
this is part 3. Thank you for hanging in there.
Okay. So we have a couple of our folks back. So hello, welcome back to part.
Okay. Yay. Okay. Anyway, there are over 400 different tribes. So this may not be things that everybody did, but in reading about some of the traditions, it's the one I like. So I share the ones I like. But when they would go out hunting for the tribe to keep the tribe alive, they would go out and find the herd of buffalo. And then they would say their prayers and be grateful and share their gratitude. And they would wait. And they would ask that one of the buffaloes give of itself for the good of the tribe. And they would wait until all the buffaloes moved away except one. And always all the buffaloes moved away except for one. And they knew that was the buffalo that was giving itself for the tribe. And so they would kill it. They would again say their prayers and be grateful for this buffalo, and they would take it back then, and they would use every part of it. There was no waste. They would use the hides, and they would use every part of it for different things. And that to me is a sacred way of taking care of the animal. The animal lives a healthy, normal life and then gives of itself for the good of the tribe. That buffalo is going to carry a much different vibration than the way we do the agricultural mentality of keeping our animals caged and abused. I mean, if you look at the chickens, and again, I did not become a vegetarian from a moral reason, but I certainly am at that place now where I see the inhumanity of the way we treat our animals. But if you only need to, I'm seeing Josie cover her ears, so I won't go into stories, but just recognize that you can feel the way the animal is treated. I haven't eaten eggs now for 3 or 4 years, but when I did, I ate cage-free, organic, um, free range, whatever else it was, eggs, because they were happier. They just taste different than the mass produced eggs. And so you have to decide what's right, what's not right for you and your diet, but recognize that everything you put in your mouth, everything that you put in your body, from the thoughts to the words, to the food, to the drinks, all those things carry a vibration, and they will either take your vibration up or take it down. And you just choose. And I found when I told my body to guide me in what I eat and drink, that my body would say, I don't want that, I don't want that, or let's have more of that. And I still have a crazy diet. I don't eat, sort of the balanced meals the way the experts tell you they should be, but my body's in good shape and it's healthy, and I'm very happy with it. Thank you, body.
Well, and just a reminder too, we talked a little bit right before we went live, but if you're calling in a higher vibration, you're calling in, to me, that's calling in your highest timeline and your higher self. But if your highest version of yourself, your highest opportunity to be in the fullness of your light and gifts, when you choose to be in a higher vibration and you start to bring in the higher vibration, you have to kind of shake out the lower vibration stuff. So if you're in this high vibrational diet of thoughts and books and energy and all that kind of stuff, but then you're putting in these low density foods, it can absolutely make you sick. Same thing with me. Like, I get sensitive to just anger. If I get really upset or really in an emotional thing, like, I get physically ill from it. So it can be just energy, emotional stuff too, that can make you sick. But just know that if you're asking for your highest vibrational self, then that comes in so many forms and fashions, to start paying attention. Thanks. Thanks. I can't find my hair stuff, so it's kind of crazy right now. But just know, it's like, if you, even in some of the plant medicines, that high vibrational frequency, anything lower you have to let go of, you have to get out. It's why you do a dieta. It's a very special diet, because it's it makes it, our body is energy, and so absolutely what you feed it affects it.
And I also want to add to that your body holds on to any unresolved emotional issues. And so when your vibration is rising, all of those lower vibrational issues have to come to the fore so you can release them. You don't have to understand them. You don't have to identify them or have them clearly, but you do have to recognize and release. The body sensations, whether your knees hurt or your foot hurts or whatever, are all indications of these issues that you're also releasing. Like Claudia was talking about, had all of her childhood traumas coming out. Well, obviously they're unresolved, and so she has to release that for her body to continue its higher vibration, its ascent in vibration.
Yeah. And
okay, Josie has a question.
Weight issues actually go back to unresolved trauma, and I find a lot of weight issues actually can be around sexual trauma as well, or chakras protecting themselves. Like, look at where you're holding weight. Like, what is it that you're unprocessed with? Okay,
Josie,
go ahead.
You gotta unmute yourself.
I was listening to her, and it'll come to me. So just go on, continue.
Or leave yourself unmuted and then jump in when you think of it again.
But I do, yes, relate to what Stacy said about, in your body, like the weight too, So, but the unresolved issues in your body, it came to me. one way that is scientifically proven is breath work. You can do breath work, and it like oxygenates your cells because you're taking in so much prana in that, and you'll be releasing things. And like you said, how you release, you don't know exactly what it is, but it gets released. And that is one proven method that it does work. And
Well, just having the intention of releasing is very important. When you're taking a shower or bath and you're cleaning your body of dirt, then have the intention of releasing the energy that doesn't serve you. When you're running in a field, just imagine all the other stuff, the impurities energetically being pulled away. So there's all kinds of ways of doing it. But if your brain says, I have to understand it, I have to know what it is, I have to know how long I had it and who gave it to me, then you're not going to release. You're an energetic hoarder. You just keep hanging on. If you're always talking about your unresolved emotional trauma, then you're an energy hoarder. And I just made up that term, but I like it.
Oh, that was something else when you were talking about going through every piece of paper. Like, I'm not that bad, but I used to be. And anything with my name on it, I would have to shred. I wouldn't let anything leave my life out of my house with my name on it.
Well,
Just
that's
because,
OCD. That's for that kind of issue.
yeah, and it was too because I was stalked in college, and he found out my name because I wrote it on the outside of a folder, and started calling me by name, and it was terrible. But so yeah, it's probably a couple different things, or I was thinking maybe a past life.
Well, it is believed that, and especially in the Egyptian early beliefs, that anyone who knew your name could impact your soul. And that was what Isis' power was. She knew everybody's name. So what would happen is mothers would name their child, and in Egypt they have 4 names, but let's say his name was John Paul, but they would call him Jack Fred or something because they didn't want other people to know his true identity, because when they had that, they could go in. And for me, all I need to do is hear someone's name and I can go into that energy and I can access that soul. Of course, I wouldn't ever do anything that was less than honorable with it, but having a person's name is a source of vulnerability. And so that could be, part of that past life, a knowledge that you didn't want anybody to have your name unless you willed it or you allowed it.
Speaking
wow, thanks for that story. That was awesome. I've never heard that. And
yeah,
that's
why
Isis information.
That's why Isis was all powerful, because she had access to everybody's name. She knew everybody's name. So be aware. Stacy, you wanted to say something?
Well, I was just saying, speaking of Egypt, you have been talking about an upcoming trip.
Yes, we're going to, in October, we're going to put together a trip to Egypt. We're going to assume that all the flights will be easy breezy, none of the residue from all this other crazies that we've gone through, and it'll be a joyful experience. So it'll be somewhere at the end of October and November. We will give you the dates.
And that is this year. So that is
2021. And it, yeah, that I have to sit with a calendar and peel the dates to pick out the dates that I go, and then clear it with the Egypt, because obviously we rent the pyramids, and that is something that I make sure we can do on the dates that we go. So and then we do a 2-hour meditation in the King's Chamber when it's closed to the public. So it's the highlight of the trip for me. And so we have to coordinate a lot of stuff.
Private space in the pyramids. We rent out ourselves, so it's a magical experience. So we got a question from Sosha about energy, or Gosha. I have felt energy always since I was 3, and I was aware. As I got older, it became confusing. Today, and for a few years now, I have a sensitivity to energy and a knowing. What Claire is that?
What Claire is it? Or what Claire is it? Okay. it depends on how you're experiencing it. Some people process energy as colors. Some people process it as sound frequencies. I mean, there's all the same vibrational spectrum. I feel it.
So
I
she
very feel energy. So that would be clairsentient. Clairsentient is feeling, not with your fingers, but with your heart, your totality. So that's clairsentient.
and
And it as actually the highest level of sentience because you've integrated the auditory and the visual, according to my spirit friends. But I can't close my eyes and picture my mother. I can't pull her image to me. I can't visualize things, but I feel things.
and I get a lot of things in visual, so I will be shown things visually. So sometimes it's hard to put the words, and then I also know and feel, but I, especially like if I'm meditating or doing those things, then I actually get a lot of visions.
Well, we all have different ways of connecting and hearing and processing our spirit connections. You cannot be alive without having the spirit connections, but how we process them is different. So whatever's normal and natural and easiest for you, go with. Don't judge it, just allow it. And eventually they'll all come into the play. Anything else? We're going on 2.5 hours, so I think this is going to be a good time to wrap it up if we're finish up with our questions. We get together every Sunday and every Thursday. Sunday is our political conversation. Our politics meets spirituality, but there's still a lot of spirituality. And then on Thursday, it's our spirituality and sort of consciously being able to interact with life. It's one thing to say I'm spiritual, but you have to adjust the way you react to life in order to activate your spirituality. It's about how we live, not how we talk.
Yes. And then so it says body feels a deep pull, tug of knowing. I just know. My stomach coats within with a heated sensation.
That knowing is clairsentient. You just know. I just feel it. I just know it. And trusting that is very important.
And I think
Josie, was that double hands saying you wanted to say something?
Well, that was kind of like my thing for sprinkles, but as far as
subtle, that's really subtle. No, it's
as far as knowing, like you said, is that more of a developed intuition also? Because I know sometimes I get things and it's like, I know, and the people confirm it and they're like, wow, you're real intuitive. And it's like, okay. So I'm trying to see, are they different or related or the same?
Everybody has intuition. Not everybody trusts it, likes it, uses it, accepts it, because people will second guess it. And this is my imagination, and I'm just making this up, and there's no way. And so they argue with it. And so those diminish your sense of intuition. When you feel it and trust it and act on it, that then enhances the intuition to become stronger and more powerful. So the more you honor and trust intuition, the stronger and more powerful it becomes. But everybody has it. You can't be alive without it. And intuition is our inner knowing. You can say, I feel it, my heart, follow my heart, whatever, but everybody processes it and has different language around it, but everybody has it. If you're in business, they call it your gut feelings, because it's an internal, and in business, one of the main attributes of professional leaders in business is that they have a strong gut reaction. They have a strong gut knowing. They trust their guts. Well, same thing. It wouldn't be manly to call it your intuition. That's more what women say, but men say, I trust my gut. I'm feeling this, So
Well, Esme said my gut is my intuition about someone's energy, totally. And then Juan said it really made me realize how much one can influence everything. And I said yes. And I also added, ultimately, we can choose who can affect us. And that's where if you're allowing someone else to affect your energy, you're giving away your power. And so remember to bubble your own energy, and it can be theirs as lessons and teaching us, but it is also up to us to.
There are times though when it's beyond our call, because we are also being developed. Just like a boxer will go on the ring and practice boxing someone in order to get to be a better boxer. Well, the universe gives us those practice sessions so we can experience the energy, so that we can develop more ability and more discernment to just determining the energy. I was on many occasions, I've been, had these experiences like, but I was protected. Why did that happen? And they said, because you needed to listen, you needed the experience. It's like, oh, so even though I protect, I can still have a lesser experience because that was needed for my growth. My soul called that in. So the same thing with your energy. You have a lot of control over it, but sometimes you don't. And that's okay too. Just trust that everything that happens to you is divinely perfect. If you're calling protection, guidance, and truth, then everything that happens in your life is divinely perfect. And we need to celebrate, be grateful.
Okay. I just want to add to that or whatever about you said celebrate, but like what happens? Okay, you said everything's divinely perfect. So say, like for instance, yesterday I had a bad day and it just didn't get any better and things kept happening. And so I just, when I got home is when I released it, like in it, and I just went, and like, was not real nice and just got caught up in it. And I was like, oh God, this is so hard and blah, blah, blah. And, then after I cooled off and relaxed and like, I might've went outside or something. And like, then I come back and said, gosh, why did I say those things? It was, it was bad, but I feel so much better now. And so like, if you do something like that, release and like, say, have a temper tantrum kind of thing, and say things, and because I know how powerful your words are, but can you go back afterwards and say how sorry you were for doing that and putting that out there? Is that doesn't make any difference?
Well, first of all, you can undo the damage by releasing the energy. And that's where I say the cancel. If I set it in my head as a thought, then I cancel in my head. It's like erasing the board. Okay. If I said it out loud, then I say the cancel out loud. So yes, you can undo and relax that energy. But when you had the first, and bad is a judgment. So when you're judging it, you're bringing more shit in to judge. So you don't want it, not bad, a challenge. We rise to a challenge. It's an experience. So when you had the first experience that wasn't so much fun, and you were blah, 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 blah about it, then you attract more of them. And so pretty soon you go, oh, it's a terrible day. Well, it wasn't a terrible day. You had some unpleasant experiences that attracted other unpleasant experiences. When you took the time to clear, then your day shifted because you chose to shift the energy.
But I acted appropriately, like in public. And then when I got home, it was just like,
well, acting appropriately sounds like you were stuffing it and it was amplified, more pressure. You're sending it out, but it was through your thoughts, because if it's there, it's there.
And Josie, if I was giving you homework, I would give you homework of releasing judgment and really think about it. Because I don't think you realize even in how much talk, just in that conversation, you judge good or bad. I had a right. It's you had
Right.
a day that was intense is very different than I had a bad day. And then I should have done this. And every time you should have done something, you're not accepting it. So maybe this is time to be more kind to yourself and realize that you're also a human in a human experience. And it's not about judging how you were, but it is about becoming aware. And so in the past, you might have done the same thing and never even caught yourself or thought about it. So it's all this tools and stages of becoming more aware. And that's really the key. It's not judging, it's awareness. And if you aren't familiar with Mom's first book, The Many Were Called, Few Were Chosen, to me, that's an incredible book about this
Oh,
and
yeah.
what we're going through right now. And so that talks about letting go of judgment, letting go of comparison, letting go of fear. And anytime that we're holding on to attachments, right, that is keeping us in a lower vibrational state. And so it's really important, especially with ourselves, we have to learn to unconditionally love all aspects of ourselves, or we can never accept all aspects of somebody else. And so when that other person's annoying you, it always is a reflection for us to ourselves and how we love to love ourselves more. So I would give you that
It's okay to love and accept yourself at the same time.
Yeah.
Working to alter behaviors that don't serve you.
Yes. And one other thing, just so like this is, we went out shopping for a birthday gift for a friend, me and my mother, and like we went to Steak and Shake, and now you go in there are no waiters, no waitresses. You walk in the door, they send you to a kiosk and you order your food. You get your receipt after you pay, and you go and find your own seat. And then they call your number and you go up and you pick up your tray and you bring it back. I mean, it's like, it was weird. They rearranged the seating and it's like so impersonal, and
Well, that's part of the problem with lots of places like that is they can't get people to work. With Biden's bumps for people who are, COVID impacted, they've been giving them lots of incentives, lots of bonuses for not working. So now stores can't get people and restaurants can't get people to work because they make more money on unemployment. And
Right.
so that's one of the downsides. There's a lot of restaurants that I've been to. I've not been to Steak and Shake ever, actually. But there's a lot of places that are only doing the drive-through because they can't get employees to cover the inside. And
Right.
again, we're seeing a whole shift in economy because of it. So yeah, it's becoming much more impersonal. So
And
you become that much more personal. Love and light everything.
Yes. And you also, that's a powerful tool too, to remember you get to support the businesses that are in line with you. If you're finding these businesses are now out of alignment with you, then to me, it is your duty to stay in your truth right now. The more we individually stay, speak, live, breathe, and honor truth and be in our truth and speak our truth, then the faster we clear it out of the collective, which is not by accident that we're starting to have truth coming through in such a large platform, because we're able to be in our truth more. And the more we can be in our truth, the more we can accept truth as a collective. And so to me, if you're finding yourself in those situations with businesses, then verbally go up to the manager. If the manager's not there, then call the manager and say, hey, I just want to let you know, this is how I feel. And until this changes, I can't support you as a company, blah, blah, blah. But just be honest. And
Exactly.
that's how it shifts.
Because I won't go back there because it was, I didn't like it. And another thing which I had a problem with is, it was, I'll say a credit card. You can't get through to some of these places. You call and then they say, do online. And you go online and you still get the error. So it's like no way of getting hold of these places. Or they say, oh, you can email us, but it's just also you can't get a person to talk to. So it's like that would be another place that I would be like, yeah, I'm not going to deal with you because there's no way I can get hold of you. But I'd have to write that and send it. But anyway, it's just how I viewed how things definitely are changing, and it's not for the good. As
But
far
you know
as
what? All these companies are monitoring social media, so tweet it out or Facebook post your experiences and
I'll
stuff because
quit.
these
It's called
companies are.
tweet. It's called tweet it out or post it, but not twit.
I didn't know the difference. I was
Well,
like, yeah, that's it.
but put it out in social media and they're monitoring it and they'll also get it that way as well. And anybody else had these experiences. And that's, after you tell your story, then anybody else having these experiences, anybody else, because it's going to be the last time I visit Steak and Shake because I didn't like this very impersonal environment they've created. And that way, again, your information is making a difference. But I was shocked to learn that our South Lake Mall is owned by Israelis.
Yeah.
So it's in the Chinese own. There's a news broadcast system that I subscribe to. It's an online news service. It's owned by the Chinese. It's like, oh my goodness. So as you learn, then you have to become a much more discerning consumer because those things affect you.
Esme asked a question that kind of follows up to a lot of our conversation. I also put in there that we talked a lot about trauma earlier, but she said, can trauma be carried from different lifetimes? And how do we release if we don't know about these traumas?
First of all, trauma can be carried in lots and lots of ways, and certainly through different lifetimes. And if we've experienced trauma in one lifetime that we're holding on to, then we will sort of reinfect ourselves. We have an excuse to talk about it in this lifetime, and you'll have another trauma. And remember, our soul is all about experiencing. So if we've been the perpetrator, then we have to be the victim. If we're the victim, then we will always be the perpetrator, so we can understand all aspects of the issue. Also, there's generational trauma. And so what we're clearing up now is also family traumas. And Claudia talked a lot about her family traumas, that the Native Americans talk about you are impacted by the 5 generations that precede you, and that you impact the 5 generations that follow you. And so when you're healing, when you're clearing up your stuff, you're clearing up for the 5 generations before you, that preceded you. And so there's trauma that's in your genes from your cellular genetic code. There's trauma that's coming from other lifetimes, other physical experiences. There's traumas that you may take on to help a friend, just like you may help a friend stop their bleeding if they've been injured. Well, we take on traumas from other people. As far as soul paths, we're taking on traumas for the earth. So yeah, trauma can come from different places, but think of those hoarders. You don't have to keep it. It's a choice to keep it. You just have to let it go.
And it could be as simple as intention. Every time you go to the bathroom, I release all the things that no longer serve me with ease and grace and just let it flow. Intention is everything.
And recognize it doesn't have to be a big whammo. The trauma is individual. And so something that may have been minor for someone else can be major trauma for you. And you don't want to discount your trauma. You don't want to milk it like you would a cow forever, that you're going to, I've got this trauma. But you also don't want to diminish its significance to you. So just be in open receptivity to whatever you're going through. And if you need to know the details, your mind will give it to you when it thinks you're ready. But meanwhile, just be willing to let it go. Don't hold on to it. If you watch these people on horrors, some of them keep their poo and their urine in bottles, and you think, why would someone do that? But it's not healthy. But neither is holding on to our traumas. And the more you bring in the traumas and through and owning it, my trauma, the more you empower it in your life. So don't do that.
And I would also sort of disagree with that to a degree, because I find that actually for me and my healing journey, part of being able to talk about the trauma was the beginning of me being able to actually see it, feel it, witness it, and stop judging myself through it. I put a lot of shame. And so for me, it was a step in owning my power in it and knowing that I get to choose who I talk about and who I don't. And it's also, I find who I'm guided to talk about, and that it's always kind of random, but I had so much feedback from when it does come up from people, usually individually, that are like, thank you so much for sharing. Like, I've been holding this in. And then I've heard stories that they've never told anybody before. And it's like, well, that makes sense of why I just brought it up in the kitchen, because I had no intentions of bringing anything up. But I'm also so open about my journey. And so I find that it gives other people permission to talk about their journey. And so,
Well, and I think that's true. I think that you have to recognize and always be in your truth of what feels right for the moment. But it's like grandparents. You know, I have no grandchildren, so I can be totally neutral in this. But some grandparents will show you the pictures of their grandkids and go, "Oh, aren't they cute?" And it's like, okay. And then they'll post their pictures on Facebook. Okay, good. And then there are other grandparents who will post 500 pictures of their grandkids and they talk about nothing else but their grandkids. And so it's about being in balance even with that. So I think everybody out there has had some of those grandparents that are a bit excessive in their conversations about their grandkids. So just be in truth, whatever is right for you. All right, it's 8:45. 2 hours and 42 minutes into it. So this is a good time to close up. We'll be opening our conversation up again next time. Have your questions, have your comments, have your things ready to discuss. And remember that what things are coming up, they're important, not only for you, but for the world. And tonight's conversation was a perfect example of how each issue spawned so many other very important things. And so, and if there's big important topics, please feel free to let me know and we'll do a class on it. We do workshops that are 2-hour focused on a single topic, but those are different than our conversations. So with that, I love you all. Thank you from wherever you are for joining us for the conversation. If you found it helpful, please do a like on the Facebook. You can send the links to your friends to watch it. It's out there on Stacy's Facebook page, so you can get it. And if you would like a private session with me, I'm happy to oblige. We do half-hour and 1-hour sessions and get a lot accomplished in a short time. I do
want to say your 1-hour sessions, you have not changed the price in 30 years. So you can get $97 for a 1-hour session. And she can do pretty much everything, whether it's Akashic records or it's pretty epic. I highly recommend.
And so, and then of course, each book that I've written is a little sliver of the lessons I've learned about a single topic. So you may find some of those interesting. Again, I'm here to assist you. Feel free to assist. And if you choose to make a donation, feel free to make a donation to Stacy or I, and that helps pay for the technology and the other things that are involved with offering these classes. Our meetup is $400 and the Zoom has a cost. So if you would like to donate to our experiences, we'd love that. And meanwhile, you have a wonderful, divinely perfect life. And we'll be back on next Thursday in spirituality and then on Sunday for politics. Anything you want to say?
No, I just want to say thank you. And a lot of spiritual people don't want to deal with politics, but I think it's actually so important for us to put our energy in politics because we have to be able to see in order to be able to transmute and fix and change. And so to me, it is why we need our light workers involved energetically to be able to shift. We're here to shift the planet. And so we do that together. And in order to shift, we have to see and feel and explore and live in our truth. So we are in this together. And because you're on this, I know you're here to shift the planet together. So it's so beautiful to be able to meet with our tribe. I love that we have so many people from around the world joining us. And I just want to say thank you. And you got this. It's a lot going on, but you can handle this. You signed up for this. And it's why we're here together. So thank you. If you want to rewatch it, again, you can go to YouTube. I'd recommend YouTube because now IG is again cutting us off all the time. So hello, Susan and Jen and Maper and Stacy and Becky and
And if you watch it again or have other people watch it, jot down the questions or things that come up, and then you can ask those in next week session, because you can always bring up whatever needs to be brought up.
and there's a Stacy on here that's Stayce. I've never seen that spelling, and I'm a Stacy, so I look for a lot of spellings. And Esme and Jen and everybody who's it's beautiful. So thank you.
Okay, Josie has her finger up, so
You are all magnificent. Just keep saying it. Magnificent, how magnificent we are.
we're divinely
And yes.
perfect.
Yes. Okay. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you. Anybody else
Thank
want to say anything? Any closing comments from our online friends?
Mhm.
All right.
We got thank you and the hearts and yeah.
Okay.
That's all. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream. Thank you very much for joining in. Bless, you got this.
We got this together.
We got
Baby,
this
do we
together.
ever.
Baby, do we ever. We got this together. Baby, do we ever. And that's from our little friend Jen in Boston, now in Cape Cod.
Who's moving, so she couldn't join us tonight.
All right, I'm going to hit the end here. Stop live stream.